Good morning, everybody. Thank you for coming today, and thank you for joining us for this very important workshop. And we are doing the Pitch Your Solution event today. But before we get started, I have a few items that I need to go over with everybody. Just wanted to remind everyone that this is the HACC's 5th year, and we would not all be here if it wasn't for the hard work of the state of Hawaii's enterprise technology services, and for the governor for promoting and supporting this event. I wish additionally to thank, hang on, let me turn the slides. I wish to additionally thank our sponsors, Transform Hawaii Government, Hawaii USA Federal Credit Union, Microsoft, our Megabyte sponsors, Nick Hawaii, Google Cloud, Hawaii Data Collaborative, AT&T, Spiridion, and Revacom. I would also like to thank our community partners, HACC, HTDC, the Office of Hawaii State Representative Mark Nakashimi, and Sheila B from IMAG Foundation. For some reason, I don't have her slide up here. Sorry, Sheila. For being our fiscal sponsor this year and all the great work she's done for us this year. Okay, on to today's agenda. So 9:30 to 11 is the actual Pitch Your Solution presentation. At 11 o'clock, if we run over because at that point it's just questions for the HACC committee, and then we're POW at 12. Steph has offered to stick around in that hour as well. So if you have one-on-one questions for him, we can throw you into a breakout room and he can help you. He's hoping that those of you who are here are going to be our presentation people or creators, and he might be able to answer some specific questions you have. You have your slides started and so forth. So we're hoping that that will go that way, that's last hour. And if we don't need the whole hour, that's fine too, but you have at least an additional hour to get more help from myself or Steph. Deadlines, I want to remind you of deadlines. These are important. My slides are taking slow. Saturday, today, Challenge Declaration Day. Now I have heard from everybody, so you guys are all off the hook. I know everybody's affiliated challenges. Thank you for that. Wednesday, technical review begins. Remember, you need to have committed working code to GitHub. You need to have committed information to DevPost on how to access that code to run it. I'm not how to install it or deploy it, but how the technology people can run it, to test it, test drive it. So like they need a particular username and password, things of that nature. Then you need to also make sure that if you need to make an appointment with them to show them how the functionality works, they'll be reaching out to you. So like if your device is all on an iPhone or something like that, that's okay. You just need to do an in-person demonstration with them. Wednesday, November 8th, 1 week later, we will be announcing the teams. And if you're invited to do a pitch, we're going to ask you to join us on Friday, November 20th between 1 and 5 p.m. We will be sending you the schedule. I'm going to more or less do it in the order that you'll be presenting on that Saturday, just so that you kind of get comfortable with that process. So I'll be breaking it up in like 10 or 15-minute intervals between, depending on how many teams there are, will depend on how much time you have. It might be even as little as 5 minutes. It's just a matter of, can you share your screen? Are you all ready? For those of you who are here, since we're talking about the pitch, I also will be asking who is giving the pitch on your team. So if you have a 12-person team, but only 2 of you are going to be speaking, I need to know those names specifically. And I will be putting this in an email as well. Saturday, November 21st from 9:30 to 2 will be the pitch presentations, and your pitch presentations will start about 10 a.m. Okay, with Please remember to keep microphones and cameras off during the presentation. Unless you have a question, then you can use the unmute to ask your question or enter your question into chat. And I know that this presentation involves a lot of more audience activity. So Steph will be bugging you a lot to, hey, you, give me an answer. So he may be picking you out of the hat. Steph, I'm going to ask you to mix up not just the people who are showing up at the top, maybe have your participant screen open to do that. That way we can get a mix of everybody. You can't hide, you can hide, but you cannot get away. We're going to find you. So, okay, without further ado, let's get on with the task at hand. Let me stop sharing my screen so I can give it over to Steph, and then I will make my introductions. Hang on one second. Steph, please take over the screen. And while Steph is starting to share a screen, I wanted to introduce him, Stefan Opasal, and pitch your solution. Stefan is an entrepreneur, a mentor, and an investor who is passionate about technology and startups. He is currently the Chief Operating Officer of Rendezvous.io, a venture-backed startup that makes visual collaboration software to help remote teams work together more effectively. Guess we're going to have to use him next year. Finish projects faster and deliver better results. Previously, Stefan was the director of Cloud Honolulu, an ambassador for Startup Grind, and a venture analyst at Sultan Ventures and Accelerate UH. Thank you, Steph. Please take over.
Thank you, Thelma. Can you guys hear me okay? And can you see my screen all right?
Yes.
Awesome, cool. Well, thanks for having me. This is now my third or fourth year doing this presentation for the HACC. Usually we do it in person, but you know, the times are changing. So we're gonna do this one online. As Thelma said, this is more of a workshop. It's not just a one-sided presentation where I get to do all the talking. There'll be opportunities throughout this pitch along the way where you'll be able to actually workshop what your real pitches might look like and develop those. And we want to hear from you as well. So I will be calling on people at random. Someone's mic on. Can we turn that off?
I just did.
Thanks, Thelma. All right, so without further ado, let's get into it. Thelma just gave a quick intro about me. So really quick, kind of wrapping that up. I've been on the venture side of things, evaluating startups and looking to invest in startups. So I've heard a lot of pitches from entrepreneurs, from people with big ideas. And I've also been on the other side of it. I've pitched and sold startups. I've grown venture-backed startups before, and I'm currently working on one that we started this year in response to COVID as well. So I've been on both sides. I've seen a lot of good pitches. I've seen a lot of bad pitches. And I've learned just a few things over the years that I'm hoping to share with you right now that'll make you give better presentations regardless of whether it's to an investor, to a team member, or to a HACC judge when eventually you do get to pitch your idea. This pitch, like I said, it's more of a workshop. And there's going to be four main elements to this that we're going to kind of cruise through. The first one is the bar pitch. That's going to be really casual, really short. The second part is the elevator pitch. Some of you may have heard of an elevator pitch before, so we're going to workshop that. And then lastly, how do we turn those two into the HACC pitch so that each of you folks are ready to present to the judges and hopefully win some awards. I'll close out with just some general tips and tricks that are applicable any presentation that you're giving, and that should be it. After that, there will be chance for discussion or questions if you may have them. In the meantime, feel free to post your questions in the chat. We can try to get to them during the presentation if somebody has a great question. Otherwise, I'm happy to do a one-on-one afterwards. So I always like to start out with this slide because this is one of the things that you learn very, very quickly is a huge mistake that a lot of folks make. You may have seen this movie. It's called Field of Dreams. It's kind of old now. It's a bit dated, but there's this whispering voice that says, if you build it, they will come. And that doesn't just apply to baseball fields in the middle of Nebraska or wherever that is. A lot of folks like yourself, people who are building and have big ideas, they think the same thing too. If I build this solution, if I make this product and I make it perfect, people are just going to flood to me, whether that's investors, whether that's users, or in your case, that could be the challenge sponsors, whatever problem that you're working on in the hack. You think, hey, if I build this great solution, they're going to love my idea and I'm going to win this competition. And that's just flat out false. That's just not how the world works. And most of the time, people waste a lot of money, a lot of resources, a lot of their time building these solutions without doing what it takes to actually make sure that those solutions meet the needs and are a winning presentation. And so I just want everybody to kind of avoid this type of mentality, because you're going to set yourself up for failure off the bat, no matter what. And so really what it is, it comes down to how are you able to communicate what you're doing and get that to resonate with people. And so we're going to start off with something really, really simple here. And this is your value proposition. This is the core of what it is that you're working on for the hack right now. What is the value that your team is bringing to these challenge sponsors? And so it looks pretty simple like this. It starts out with something like, we do X for Y by doing Z. Meaning there's something you do for someone or some group, which in this case is the challenge sponsor. And you do that how? Is it through machine learning? Is it through your app? Is it leveraging data in a unique way, right? And so this looks really, really simple, but oftentimes when we are working on a problem and a solution, we actually it's harder to boil it down to make something this simple, but also encapsulate the entire project. So I think it's really important that everybody right now, if you can, start out by just writing, we do X for Y. That means Y is who you're solving the problem for. And then by doing Z. So Z is specifically, how do you accomplish that? How are you solving this problem? And through what means? So this will be a really quick one. I would say take maybe 90 seconds to try to jot this down. And then I'm going to call on some people, and I'm curious to hear what each of you are working on right now. So get started on this. I'm going to start a timer, and I'll come back in 90 seconds, and we'll be calling on people. Okay, we have about 30 seconds left to kind of wrap up your value prop here. If I call on you, please, for the moment, turn on your video, turn on your audio, so that the rest of the people here can hear and see you as well. And just try to deliver this short, concise value prop if you can. So about 10 more seconds, kind of wrap it up if you can. Don't worry if it's not perfect for right now. We'll build on this as we go. Okay, time's up. I'm gonna call on a random person in the chat. Let's go with Leanne Aiken. Leanne, can you unmute yourself and tell us your value prop?
Good morning, and I knew you were gonna call me first. It's the alphabet A. It's always that, good and bad. Anyway, so my value proposition is we do research integration for all individuals by centralizing information.
Okay. That's pretty good. I think that covers kind of your bases right now. I'm curious, who was the Y again? It was all individuals?
Yes. So I should have led off with we're propositioning for the resource directory for the state of Hawaii.
Okay, interesting. Yeah. And so this is actually a great one that we started out with, because in this situation, there's essentially two Ys here. And when I say Y, I mean this purpley pink Y. they're building a solution for one of the challenge sponsors, but that solution is for everybody. It's to make it easier for the general population. And so we'll kind of get into that later, but this is actually a great example right here where you want to know your audience, and because your why might change depending on who you're talking to. If you're talking to an audience in front of the entire HACC audience, I think that was a great value prop. If you're specifically talking to the challenge sponsors, you may want to tell them how you're solving their problems. So that's pretty good. I think I like that a lot. All right, you're off the hook for now, Leanne. Thank you for that. We'll do just one more and then we'll move forward. Let's do Ethan Ibanez. You there, Ethan? Okay, you're not off the hook yet. We'll skip you for now, but I might circle back later. Let's do Gum Ong. Can you turn on your mic, turn on your camera, and give us your value prop?
Hello? Okay.
Yep.
I said we does it have to be we do?
Doesn't have to be we do. So everything that I'll cover today is like a loose framework. You can always switch it up. We make, we do, something like that.
We provide a powerful and dynamic platform with game-like features for crowdsourcing public records by creating a web application that allows for concurrency and asset compliancy. That's a technical term, but
I think that's really good. No, I think I like the way that you expanded on it. I thought your we do was strong. You mentioned gamification and how you're accomplishing it. I thought that your for was clear as well, and I think that your by doing Z was pretty good as well. So this is going to be the easiest one of the day, but I think you guys both nailed it. At its core, if you had one sentence to describe what it is that each of you are working on at the HACC, this is the sentence you want to use. You want to keep this one in your back pocket so that if someone says, what are you working on? This is it. We're doing something for someone, and this is how we're accomplishing it. So thank you, Gum. Thank you, Leanne. I appreciate both of you. That was the easy one. So let's get into a little bit more stuff here. So when you are building your value prop, when you are building any type of presentation, you got to ask yourselves, are we making painkillers or are we making vitamins? And this is important because the distinction is often not clear for a lot of these things. This pill looks like this pill, but the difference between painkillers and vitamins is actually very large.
Excuse me?
Yeah.
Sorry, I was muted when I tried asking a question. Back in the previous thing, what's the difference between we do X versus by doing Y?
Yeah, great question, right? So the difference between this part and this part is what he's asking here. This is kind of elaborating a little bit more on the details. So an example I'll get to later in the deck would be like Airbnb. We help homeowners earn extra money. So it's like earning extra money is up here, and the Y is homeowners. And then the bottom part is it's Airbnb. So we made a two-sided marketplace where homeowners and people who are traveling can find a place to live together. And so like simply put, you're helping homeowners earn extra money. And then how are you doing that? It's elaborating a little bit more and giving kind of the more fine details than the overall value. Does that kind of help?
Yeah, so it's what we do versus how we do it.
Yeah, it's a great way to put it. Yeah.
Okay.
And we're going to build on this a lot throughout the deck, and we'll go through that example with Airbnb and a few other companies as well. So it should be a little more clear later. But that's a really great question.
Thank you.
Yeah. So back to this painkillers and vitamins thing. Painkillers have a nasty rep, and probably rightfully so. But at the end of the day, do you want to be building solutions that are painkillers or vitamins? And so what's the difference between the two? With painkillers, it's like, you might have stepped in a hole, you broke your ankle, the bone's sticking out, you're bleeding out to death, right? Like you want a painkiller right then and there. You absolutely have to have a painkiller. Whereas vitamins, it's like, I've been telling myself I should start taking omega-3 fish oil for months. And maybe, just maybe, the next time I'm at the store, I'll pick some up. The difference between the two is really, really drastic, right? And that's kind of how you want to communicate your solution. It's kind of how you want to communicate what you do here. Is it should be something that is needed, and you should be able to clearly explain, you know, this is the painkiller right here. This is something that you have to have right now. Whereas a vitamin, you know, it's great. Omega-3s there's supposed to be quite a few benefits of omega-3s, but at the end of the day, you know, that's not going to convince someone to get off the couch and go buy those fish oil pills. So, you know, we're going to try to weave this in a little bit as we go here. And so we workshop the bar pit, or the value prop, a little bit. Now we're going to turn that into something a little more real life here. And this is an exercise that Joey Katzen, a Honolulu-based entrepreneur and investor, this is something that he does a lot. And I really love this example because it's pretty casual. So the idea of the bar pitch is, you know, you're at a bar sitting next to a complete stranger, or maybe it's someone who's not in your industry, not part of your immediate friend group. And you're having a conversation and you say, hey, we're working on this HACC project. And they're going to say, well, what does your solution do? Or what are you guys working on? And that's where your bar pitch comes in. It's casual. It doesn't use a ton of buzzwords. This person may not be technical. They may not be in your industry. And so it's going to follow a pretty simple rubric here. So this is going to look a lot like the value prop, but it's just kind of tweaked a little bit to give you a more clear, more realistic example here. And so your team name, so this is the we. So, you know, we are Team Super HACC, or whatever your team is called. We are a generic product or service type. In this case, we are building a software app. We're building a mobile app, right? Something kind of high level, again, because this person's not technical, that helps your audience. And so we talked about this one as well, right? Your audience could either be specifically the organization that you're solving a problem for. It could be some section of the general population, and then your value prop. And so let me get to the next slide here. Oops. So Airbnb is a really good one here because there's a few key takeaways. So Airbnb's bar pitch is an online platform that helps homeowners earn money from the extra rooms in their house. And now you notice here, this can't possibly encapsulate everything about Airbnb. And so there's two huge takeaways from this particular bar pitch. One is know your audience, right? If you're talking to people who aren't homeowners, this bar pitch isn't really going to be that interesting to them. You're not really going to get and keep their attention. Instead, Airbnb is an online platform that helps tourists and travelers find unique places to stay. So you can completely switch it around depending on who your audience is. And it's really crucial because if I'm talking to a bunch of, you know, high school or college age students who are working in the HACC, homeowners probably doesn't resonate with you folks nearly as much. So know your audience. Now, the other takeaway from this that I want each of you to get as well is you want to say just enough to get them to ask that follow-up question here. And so if you're a successful online platform that helps homeowners earn extra money from the rooms in their house, the next question is, if I'm a homeowner, is, oh, well, how do you do that, right? The worst possible response when you give your bar pitch would be someone just going, huh, that's interesting. You know, you've completely lost it, and there's no point in even continuing to talk anymore. And honestly, they've already forgotten it the second you said it. And so your bar pitch, you want to just pique their interest just enough. So let me give you one more example here. You guys are all using Slack for the HACC. So Slack is an app that helps organizations communicate and share files efficiently using instant messaging, right? And so the takeaway from this Slack one right here is that you can mention two separate value props, right? It helps them communicate, but they could use a lot of different things to communicate. You could use Zoom to communicate. You can use Skype or WhatsApp or text messages or emails. And so you communicate and share files via instant messaging. And the other big takeaway here is the word efficiently, right? That's the real value. These are features. Communicating and sharing files via instant messaging are features. but the big value in this is more efficiently. So I'm going to go back to kind of this generic bar pitch, and I'm going to take give you guys a little bit longer to work on this one, but it should be very similar to your value prop, just slightly tweaked around to be a bit more casual. And the key thing here that's going to be different from the value props that we've already heard is that in a bar, you can't use any jargon. You can't use big fancy words. You can't use things that only people in your industry would know. You have to keep it really high level. And so you have to boil it down to something very, very simple. And so I'm going to be quiet now for another, I'll give you 2 full minutes this time. But try to workshop that value prop that you started earlier into something that's a little more appropriate for a bar. So I'm going to mute myself, take 2 minutes starting now. All right, take about 10 seconds, kind of wrap it up here. This isn't a ton of time for each of you to work a lot. So, definitely keep refining this as we go along. Totally understand that. But let's start.
Steph,
yeah.
We need you not to call on the people in your chat list, please.
You got it.
Thank you. I'll explain later.
All right, let's go with, not in the chat list. Let's do Bradford Mira. Bradford, can you turn on your mic and give us your bar pitch?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yep.
So Blizzard is an app that helps the users with mental health and more.
Okay, short, sweet. I think it's pretty good. It does a good job of being high level.
I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to interrupt. Can you quickly, so anybody who's a high school student who's on this thing and hasn't filled out the form, to allow the DOE form to allow you to be involved in one of these presentations. So we can't call on you today. Sorry, we just found this out. So unfortunately, I recognize the name and I reckon the team. So we'll let you finish talking here, but when Steph calls on you, I'm just gonna make it easy. If Steph calls on you and you have not filled out the DOE news release, press release, a release form to be able to be involved in a recording, video release form, please tell Steph that you can't participate in the conversation. Sorry, thank you.
So we'll just kind of wrap this one up. I thought that was a decent bar pitch. What I'm kind of missing is, I think you just said the users. So I want to know more about who these users are specifically. Doesn't have to be the name of an individual or specific demographic, but it could be users seeking mental health help. It could be users, and I know nothing about this challenge here, and so I'm kind of in the dark on that. So that's something you kind of want to clarify a little bit. But overall, I think that did a good job of being pretty high level. One of the ultimate tests will be, can someone else say it back to you? So I'm going to call on Cyril. Cyril, can you repeat that pitch back to us?
Oh, I was kind of unclear on his team name. Was it Blizzard?
I think it was Blizzard, yeah.
Blizzard is an app that helps the users, and I didn't quite catch what the last part.
Okay, no problem. So this could be for quite a few reasons, right? It could be that he's probably at home, and so there could be distractions around him. It could be that Thelma came in and said something, and so it took his attention away here. The takeaway from that is that that's real life. Is people have a hard time remembering anything, let alone something that they're not personally interested in or caring about. And so a really good bar pitch is not only simple and easy to understand, but it's memorable, the next day. It's memorable an hour later. It's memorable because that's really when you know that your idea has actually resonated with someone and that they're really listening to what you're saying. So we'll just do one or two more bar pitches here of some non-high school teams. Let me just double check. Nope, can't do that. Let's do San Miguel Castillo. Are you a high schooler? Nope. All right, San Miguel, let's hear your bar pitch. A little hard to hear you. Do you have a microphone closer or some headphones you can use? All right, we're gonna just jump to someone else because it is a little bit hard to hear you right now. Sorry about that, San Miguel.
I'm on his team if you want to stick with the same team.
Perfect, yep, take it away.
All right, so Checker is a software application that helps secure facilities check guests in and out efficiently and securely.
That's a great bar pitch. I understand that. I think that does a really, really good job of explaining what it is that you're doing. I think it shows who you're helping, which is guests. Securely, right? That's the value right there, is security, that they're safe. The one thing that it's missing, and I don't necessarily have an answer off the top of your head here, is it's missing kind of that, it doesn't quite set me up for that follow-up question. And that's something that you can kind of workshop over time. But I think that was really, really good. I'm going to ask on one other person here to see if they can repeat it as well. Let's try Ricky Fujimoto. Ricky, can you repeat that bar pitch?
Ricky is a high school student. Try somebody else, please.
Thank you. Katie Kimura.
So is she.
High school student.
Yeah.
Okay, Alan Slausa?
He's college. Yes, go ahead.
Okay. All right, Alan. Going once, going twice. All right, we're gonna move on. The joys of Zoom. I think we're all used to this by now. Zoom is a tricky, tricky world. So we're gonna move on. So you kind of have your bar pitch ready, right? And that one's very, very high level. That one's with an unimportant person. It's just a stranger, right? It's that person who's outside your industry. So we're going to take that bar pitch idea and we're going to turn that into what's known as an elevator pitch. has anybody here heard of an elevator pitch, or are you familiar with the term? Essentially, your elevator pitch is it's very common in the startup world. Every startup is usually equipped with this. Your elevator pitch, the premise is pretty basic. Essentially, you have maybe 60 seconds. You get into an elevator with someone who is an important person. Different from the bar pitch, this person in the elevator could be a HACC judge. This person could be an investor. This person could be someone that you really want to impress here. And you only have the amount of time it takes from the lobby to get up to whatever floor one of you gets out at, to get their attention, to tell them who you are, and to hopefully set up that next step, whether it's a next meeting, whether it's a HACC judge and you want them to implement your solution. You essentially have 60 seconds to get this done. And that is quite a tall task. It's a lot harder than it sounds. And it essentially boils down to, again, very similar to the ones we've been working on, but it follows a little bit more of a structure here. And so we're going to do our elevator pitches and we're going to workshop these a little bit. It starts with, let me go back. It starts with an introduction. So who are you? Why are you talking to me? Why should I listen to you, essentially? The problem, right? So again, you're trying to say, like, why should I listen to you? And so you have to explain the problem up front. And then at the end, you got an ask, right? And that ask could be a next meeting or something like that. So I'll break it down in a little bit more details, and then we'll take a little bit of time and actually work on our elevator pitches here too. So your introduction here, the pro tip is you can use your bar pitch. Each of you have already kind of came up with it. That's your introduction, right? Right off the bat, you should have a clear 1 or 2 sentence way of saying, this is who I am and this is what I do, right? And that should at the very least kind of pique their interest. Like the bar pitch, you want to get their attention so that they have a follow-up question for you. So this is the easy part. You've already done your bar pitch. You can use that for your introduction, right? It should take 15 seconds, and then you have all this extra 45 seconds of time to get into the next part, which is the problem. Now, why do we front load the problem here? And I think the key here is storytelling. You want to, when you present your ask or your solution, you want them to be begging for it. So if you make it so that they understand what the problem is and that this problem is severe, who has the problem, and how many people are actually affected by this problem, and most importantly, why is this problem worth solving? Why is this something that needs to be done? If you nail the introduction so that you get their attention, and then you lay out a problem in a very convincing way that I realize, yeah, this is definitely something that needs to be done. By the time you get to the solution, which involves a combination of the idea of how you're solving it, as well as the data or the technical specs of it, they're going to be relieved because they understand the problem and they know that you're the team that's working on solving this problem. And it's going to just get their attention so much that by the time that you do get to that solution, it won't be hard to set up that next meeting. If you've done this correctly, it won't be hard for them to think that whatever it is you're working on is worthwhile. And so we're going to take another quick break, and I want you to work on your elevator pitch. It doesn't have to go a full 60 seconds, but you have the time. I mean, it's an elevator ride. You can elaborate a little bit on what the problem is and who the problem is affecting, and then why that problem is important. And then you can actually explain a little bit about what it is your solution is. So I'm going to give you folks 5 minutes now and come up with a 60-second elevator pitch, and I will call on people in 5 minutes. Time starts now. about halfway through, about 2 minutes, 30 seconds left to keep working on your elevator pitch. Remember to be concise and clear about what your problem is, but be free to kind of build that problem up and really drive that problem home, because that's really going to be the hook here.
So for my high school's teams, we'll stop the recording at 11 o'clock when the presentation is completed. So please hold your questions for then, and then that way you don't lose out on being able to interact with Steph. That way we're not recording you, you can be involved at that point. Sorry for that. And if you're from Waipahu High School, you may have signed the forms. This was about Mililani. If you recall signing the video release forms for the DOE, then you can participate in this part of the event. Just let us know when we call on you. Thank you.
All right, well, time is up, so that is a perfect time to start. I want to hear these elevator pitches. So let's kick it off with Joss Michael Cardle. Picardal. Joss, you there, Joss? All right, well, we'll circle back if you can get your mic on. Let's go to Evan Polton. Evan, can you give us your elevator pitch?
Hello.
Hey.
So are we using our HACC team name and our idea for HACC for this?
Yeah, you can. I think that's probably the most productive way we could do it today. But if you really wanted to do something else, I don't think that's a problem. It's more about the idea.
So we are Team 5, and we are making a COVID-19 chat box because we feel like more people should be informed about the virus that's widespread, and the more people that knows about it, and the more safer people can be.
Okay. So I think you were off to a good start. The introduction, team name, and then you're making a COVID-19 solution. In general, and I'm going to pick on you, Evan, but overall that was a good start. In general, you don't want to use things like "we feel like," because frankly, I don't know who "we" is, and I'm not quite sure why "we" is an all important thing. So be confident. You know, you can use a lot of confidence here. Instead of saying we feel like, just state what it is. If they disagree with you, they disagree with you, but don't put that little bit of ambiguity out there. So another way you could have said something like that is, instead of we feel like more people should be aware, talk about that problem a little bit more. So if people were more aware, we wouldn't have these issues. The fact that people aren't aware of whatever it is you're solving with COVID is a huge issue, because it leads to more cases, and more cases can lead to more deaths, whatever that might be, right? But really kind of elaborate on that problem there. You kind of went from introduction and jumped to solution, but I would take more time and talk about specifically what the real issue is that your team is trying to solve. And really drive that home. I mean, you want to scare someone into thinking, well, if we don't solve this, the world is going to end, so that when you announce your solution, they get a sigh of relief, and they're so happy that you're building that solution and that it's going to work. But overall, I think that was a pretty good start. Keep working on that. Keep working on that elevator pitch a little bit. Let's do another one. Let's call on Paul. Paul E. Can you give us your elevator pitch?
Sure. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, so we are a group of young systems developers and project managers who have managed to identify a real problem. Meeting ends can be, or for yourself and your family, can be challenging. Especially in Hawaii, the cost of living is very high. Now, there are lots of organizations, initiatives, and benefits to be found on the internet that people may qualify for. However, the process of fitting benefits and aids can be tough, since there are so many options, which can cause a problem of confusion and require systematic effort to use. Especially people who have a lot on their plate, finding the right benefits and aids can be a challenge. Now, we have created an application that makes it easier to access and use aid from organizations. How does it work? It basically uses a database system that lets you know what benefits you may qualify for by simply asking our web wizard simple questions about your solution. It reduces the time and efforts needed to actually make use of great organizations and benefits here in Hawaii.
That was great. That was spot on, Paul. I love the way you kind of elaborated on the problem. You talked about the who. You talked about what happens if your solution doesn't get built. You talked about the consequences, some of the difficulties that people are having. And I was ready for your solution. So when you said it, it was like, oh, great. Okay, these guys are solving it by creating this kind of database. And so I think that was a really good elevator pitch. Don't have a lot of feedback there. The one thing that we can try is if we can see if someone else can repeat it, right? Because at the end of the day, it may have resonated with me, but does it resonate with Dennis? So I'm going to call on Dennis. Dennis, can you repeat that elevator pitch to your best ability?
Hi, can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's a tough one to repeat. But okay, so we are, hi, my name is Denny Nagel. I'm on a team that is building a product to allow visitors who need resources from the state to go ahead and just simply search via specific keywords that'll tie in to a larger database and bring up results in a single app rather than looking in multiple locations. So our team has built something that will really simplify and make more efficient the resources that visitors and locals will require to find the resources they need during this crisis that we're living in now.
Dennis, are you on the same team as?
I'm not. I'm working on a
Paul.
different project. So so I remember that pitch from not the pitch, but the problem. But I was ready to give my elevator pitch, but not so much repeat his.
Yeah, no problem. I mean, it's really tough to repeat it, right? Because luckily for you, you remembered the problem here. But that's kind of the point of all this: is the other person might be, totally uninformed about any of these things. And so it has to be clear and concise enough that someone who has no background information can quickly grasp it, digest it, and then be able to say it back to you. So thank you, Dennis. I appreciate you trying on that one. One thing, Dennis, that I would say you did that most people do and that we all fall into the trap is you kind of went introduction solution, and you talked about how your solution, but again, you were trying to repeat it, so it's a little tricky here, but I would spend the bulk of your elevator pitch talking about this problem. I mean, build it up so that it's so big that something has to be done. And then even if your solution differs from someone else, it's going to be a relief for whoever you're talking to, because it's a solution for this huge problem, this monumental problem, this expensive problem, this unfortunate problem. Whatever that problem is, you've got to hammer that problem home. But we're going to move on. So thank you, Dennis. I apologize for not having enough time to hear your elevator pitch, but happy to chat with you after this as well. Thanks. Your elevator pitch is another thing like your value prop, where you want to have something like this, really well thought out and really ready. And it has to pass this thing called the mom test. So this is my actual mom. The mom test is really important because, like I said, just a minute ago, the other person is going to have almost no context about what it is that you're doing. And so I'm working on a visual collaboration software app right now. My mom doesn't know what that means. And frankly, most people don't know what that means. And so when I'm describing what it is that I'm doing, I always ask myself, can I say this to my mom and she will understand it? Did I take out all the complicated jargon or insider baseball? Did I do it in such a clear way? It doesn't have to be your mom. It could be your niece and nephew. It could be the UPS guy. It could be anyone, right? But the idea is someone who's not very well informed on the problem, on maybe the team, and probably maybe not technically or your solution. Can you pass the mom test? And I think that this is one of the most important things, no matter what you're doing. Not just for the HACC, but for any time you're giving any presentation. Does it pass the mom test? That's when you know you've got a really, really clear value prop, when you've clearly defined the problem. So ask yourselves, as you're working on your elevator pitch after this, actually try it on your mom, try it on your aunt, your uncle, try it on someone who fits this profile of the mom test, and try to hear their feedback. Keep working until it gets to the point where you can tell some random person who's completely not in the know, and they get it, they care, they're interested, and they want to ask a follow-up question. So keep getting to the point until it passes the mom test. This is one of the biggest takeaways here, and something that each of you can work on up until the presentation for the HACC. All right, this is a really fun brain game. Credit to Omar Sultan of Sultan Ventures. Basically, the rules are simple. I'm going to read 20 words right now aloud. And you are not allowed to write these words down. You have to just remember them, as many as you can possibly. When I'm done, after I read these 20 words, I'm going to give you 1 minute. So you can't write yet until I'm done reading. You got 1 minute to jot all the words you can possibly remember. Okay, let me start my clock here. No cheating. There's no point if you cheat. Okay, you ready? Cat, apple, ball, tree, square, head, house, door, box, car, king, hammer, milk, fish, book, tape, arrow, flower, key, shoe. Pretty tough. All right, now take 60 seconds starting right now and write down as many of those words as you can. Time's up. All right. Now the fun part. I'm going to call on you. Let's start with Colin Scone. Tell us some of the words you got.
All right. I got box, cat, tree, apple, fish, square, king, arrow, squirrel, I think, and house.
Okay, how many was that? That was
10.
7? 10. Okay, 10. Very
I
good.
don't know if some of them are wrong.
That's okay. 10 is very good. Great start there. Okay, let's try Daniel Amian.
I got cat, ball, arrow, key, shoe, house, head.
Okay, that's 6?
6, yeah.
Okay. We'll do one more just so that we can get a higher sample size. Joshua Nelson. What'd you get?
I got he, shoe, hammer, apple, box, tree, house, fish, and ball. That was 9.
9. Very good. So you guys are actually punching above your weight. So good job as a team. You guys are very bright. These are the words. I noticed almost everybody got key and shoe. One person got squirrel, which very interesting. Maybe that was square mixed with something else. Did anybody get more than 10? Anybody, you can feel free to unmute yourself. Did anybody get more than 10 of these? I'd be pretty impressed if someone got more than 10. So why are we playing this game? What is the deal with all these random words? The point is this something called its recency and primacy effect. And if you were to run this test with thousands and thousands of people and hold all the constants and do it scientifically, this is how people would actually recall those words. So again, if you notice on the last slide, every single person got key and shoe, right? Those were the last 2 words. And so as soon as you start scribbling words down, it's very likely that people will remember those words. Likewise, the very first word, people will also remember that. But in the middle is when it becomes a little bit of overloading. So you might remember the first few words, you repeat them to yourself, and then it just gets kind of murky. But then those last few words, you can almost hear them in your head as you're scribbling things down, and so you remember those well. This group actually did pretty well with getting 10 answers, definitely above the statistical average there. But the point here is that this recency and primacy effect is very much true whether you're giving an elevator pitch, whether you're giving a 5-minute pitch in front of the HACC judges, or anything like that. This is just how our brains work. You can't really fight that. And so how do you overcome this? How do you prevent people from tuning out the middle of your speech? Or even worse, these HACC judges are going to be hearing pitch after pitch after pitch after pitch. And so this same recency primacy effect applies to that as well. If you're the first team to go or you're the last team to go, the HACC judges are going to remember that more quickly in their mind. And so if you're dead in the middle, how do you beat this recency and primacy effect? How do you avoid our natural memories in order to get people to remember what you're saying and care throughout the presentation? And the answer here is pull. We started with our bar pitch, I believe. The goal there was to get them naturally to be asking that next question. Well, how does Airbnb help homeowners earn extra money from the rooms in their house, right? You want to pull them. You want to just pique their interest just enough in the introduction. You don't want to just come out with your climax right in the intro. We're the team of ex-Google engineers building the world's greatest solution. Because then when you get to that problem part, they're still thinking, wow, this team's ex-Google engineers. These are really talented folks. And so you just want to say just enough in that introduction to pique their interest. And so that when the problem gets there, they're interested based on your introduction, and now you've got them hooked. Now you can just lay into this problem that I keep trying to drive home. Is you can really dive into what the actual problem is, and you can scare them. You can trigger an actual emotion and get them thinking, oh my God, we have to solve this. So that when your solution's there, it's like this huge sigh of relief. It's like, oh my gosh, this is the greatest solution to a problem that needs to be solved, and these are the people to do it. And so you want to be able to induce that pull throughout your pitch. And this is just, to sum it up, it's storytelling, right? It's the most basic things. If you watch a Pixar movie, they've nailed storytelling down to a T so that you don't zone out throughout the middle of the movie. You're engaged and you're enjoying it throughout the entire part. And it's because they're using pull. They're pulling you in. Every scene pulls you to the next scene. And so in your elevator pitch, in your HACC pitch, you have to induce that pull or people will tune you out. It is inevitable. And it's not that they're doing it to be mean or that they don't like you. You know, it's that recency and primacy effect. It's just how things work. So I would encourage you to look into this recency primacy effect yourself if you're curious. There's some interesting results there. But really focus on pulling and telling that story in a way that keeps people's attention. Okay, so we have about 22 minutes left, and this is why we're here, right? It's the HACC pitch. So how does the HACC pitch go? Oops, shouldn't say reverse pitch. The HACC pitch is you get 5 minutes to go up there, and there's plenty of information online that Thelma can present to you. And I put some screenshots in here, but your pitch should follow a general rhythm. And your goal here for the pitch is you're earning 50% of your grade on who wins this HACC competition, right? And so your goal is to convince people, in this case, the judges and the audience, that your team has built the best solution possible. So let's get into how you do that in a 5-minute pitch.
Steph, may I interject one comment here?
Yeah, of course.
Sorry. Okay, I just want to make sure that you're aware that the pitch breakdown was changed this year. It's still 5 minutes, and you still have 3 minutes to give your presentation, but you only have 1 minute of question and answer. So it's 3 minutes of the presentation, 1 minute for a live or video demo of your solution, and then only a minute for questions and answers. The other change is we will be giving you a template. There are 6 slides on that template, 5 relating to the 5 categories that are on the judging scoring sheets, and 1 slide for your live, either your live presentation or your video presentation. And you need to follow those that slides. So the judges will be directed that if a team skips does not provide a slide on one of the categories, that you could be scored 0 on that category. Okay, thank you, Steph.
Yeah, so it's important to know the rules, right? And so Thelma will be able to provide you guys with those templates and what that looks like. Luckily, I'm about to break it down here, but before we even do that, a lot of people, their gut instinct is, oh, 5 minutes, it's more work. It's going to be harder for me to talk for 5 minutes on these things. And that's actually not the reality. The reality is it's so much harder to condense all of what you've done, all of the solution, the problem, the team, and everything into one condensed value prop. So we've actually done the hard parts. This is the easiest part. You're going to take the bar pitch, you're going to take the elevator pitch, and you're going to elaborate. So we'll get into that right here. So these are the 6 slides that Thelma was talking about here. And you have to get through slides 1 through 5 in 3 minutes is what she's saying. That, 3 minutes.
I'm sorry, unfortunately, this has changed. I thought I gave you a new set of slides, but that's essentially it. There's, it's nice that you'll have a team slide, but please, I will post the template. There's nothing in there except words. So you don't have to use that template. It's just so you see where your flow should be. Again, I apologize for interrupting here. But this is essentially right. It's just there's some of the wording has changed slightly. Okay, thank you.
Okay, well, I'm going to cruise through this, but please feel free to update it based on the new information from Thelma as we go. This is going to be just kind of like a general outline of what you would probably want to include in any type of presentation, right? So your intro, you got to get their attention with the intro. We've talked about this all day. It's who you are, and then what problem your team is solving. These HACC judges, again, knowing your audience, they have some idea of the problems that are being presented today. But how you describe that problem and how you paint that problem is kind of where you can stand out and induce that pull. They may have tuned out a previous pitch, and so this is your chance to rehook them with that problem. The next thing would be your solution, right? And this is going to look very familiar to what we've been working on. It's the who, the problem, and then your solution, right? So what is it about your solution that's unique, or how are you looking at this solution differently? That's your creative approach. What are you doing that's actually innovative here? How are you leveraging the technologies at your disposal to create something truly innovative and an innovative solution that's better than the other teams working on this same problem? And then that last part would be kind of the originality in design, right? So not just technologically speaking, we use these languages, or we're using these types of databases, or this technology like machine learning, but like, how do you package that, right? Is it in an easy, user-friendly app or something like that? Again, Thelma's going to give you an updated list of specifically what she wants on each slides. But I think that if you can answer these questions and you can build your slides around here, you'll be able to massage it and change it differently depending on the rubric that she gives you. Usability and adoptability is kind of important too. So, you've built this solution because you're solving this problem, but specifically, how will this be incorporated? How will this be implemented by the government agency or the challenge sponsor? Does this meet the kind of technology that they're already using? Can it possibly be implemented? These things matter in the real life. You might have thought of an absolutely brilliant solution, but if it can't be implemented and it can't be actually used, it's going to fall flat, right? And that's kind of the if you build it, they will come mentality. And so you're going to want to explain specifically how it can be incorporated. Impact and positive change, and integration and end users, right? That one's pretty clear. So this focuses on how it will be incorporated by the agency that you're building the solution for. This focuses more on those end users. So if you're building something for the Department of Tourism, the end users is going to be tourists. And so, how useful is it? How will it have helped those tourists? What's the impact there? And then, what does that actually look like for the end users? They're going to be taking a quiz when they land about COVID, or they're going to be able to search a database and look for resources, whatever that is. You explain the end users. Team, you may have touched on this a little bit in the intro, but people want to know who you are. They want to put a face to the name, so to speak, for the rest of your team. Are you the Waipahu High School team? Are you the the team from data science, right? And then, that's the last part is that demo. So you'll actually have the ability to give a live demo or a pre-recorded demo, and Thelma will probably have some better way to outline specifically what she wants in that demo. But this is where they get to see it with their own eyes. It's not just fancy slides. This is the actual demo. This is the real thing. And it can really kind of help you drive that point home and be memorable as well. I'm going to skip this because I'm assuming this changed as well, but this is where you got to know your audience. And this is something that you're going to want to follow up with Thelma and with the HACC on, and figure out, how are you being judged? How are you actually being scored? Because you need to build your presentation in a way that meets all of these criteria. As Thelma said, if you're skipping one or two of these slides, you're going to get a big fat goose egg right there, and your score is going to be lowered. No matter how convincing it is, don't drop the ball on missing one of these things. And so ignore this one in particular, but make sure you understand what that judge scoring rubric looks like, so that you don't get dinged for just simply forgetting something. All right, so just some pro tips to kind of wrap it up. Practice, practice, practice. You've heard this 1,000 times before, but it shows. It shows when people haven't practiced. It shows when people, they either take too long, they take too short of a time. There is no such thing as a perfectly gifted speaker. Every single speaker that you can think of, every TED Talk you've ever watched, former presidents like Obama, who's a very skilled speaker, they practiced over and over and over again. And if you practice enough, you should internalize it and truly understand this content so that you're not reading off of a cue card. You're not just reading off of each slides, right? You're not reading word for word. If you end up reading a lot, we don't actually need you there. We can read the slides. So if you're just going to read the slides, it's going to fall flat. So practice, practice, practice. Now I'm going to read something right below here, but try the mom test, right? That's a great way to practice in front of others and get their feedback, whether they actually understand what it is that you're saying, what it is that you built, and whether or not the problem seems to resonate with them, how you understand it. Add visuals. This is going to be a great chance to capture all types of learners. There are, I think, 3 main types of learners. There's audio, so people who learn from hearing. There's visual learners, so adding visuals appeals to them. And then there's kinesthetic learners as well, which is kind of like hands-on learning. Some of the best pitches I've ever seen as an investor, they bring in whatever it is that they've built, whether it's like an app or something like that. And then they actually, they add that ability for the entire audience to somehow interact with it. So if you can add visuals, if you have a compelling story with your words, and you're going to do a cool product demo, you'll be able to appeal to all types of learners. And remember, the audience as well as the judges have a mixed set of learning preferences. Most people are a combination of all 3. And so try not to just be one-sided. Don't just be vocal. Don't just use visuals. Try to incorporate all 3 as much as possible. This last part is one of the most important things, and the most memorable pitches that I've heard over the years made you feel something. It made you feel anxiety as they're talking about the problem and you're realizing how big it is. That made you feel scared. Maybe it made me feel all warm and fuzzy inside or kind of nostalgic. Those are the pitches that are going to stick with you. I was asking earlier, I made a few people try to repeat the pitches as we went. If you're able to trigger that emotion and get someone to laugh or to get someone to feel some of these emotions, they're going to not just remember that pitch 2 minutes later when I call on someone. They're going to remember that pitch a week later, a month later. It's just going to pop into their head because that really resonated with them. So make them feel something. Make the audience actually appeal to their emotions, and you'll have a stronger pitch. That's pretty much it for right now. I think that the basics are in here. Make sure you reach out with Thelma and kind of figure out specifically what it is that actual HACC pitch outline looks like, so that you're not missing anything. But if you follow some of these basic instructions and you are clear and concise, you should have a great pitch. So that's it. It's kind of the end of this.
So I went back and I looked at my deck. The major change was that we reworded some of the explanations on originality of designs and resilience. So I was not as far, from some reason in my head, I thought we were further off. So there's basically 4 slides that are really important. You want to go back to your section there?
Yeah.
Let's just address this with people who are here, and I'll make sure that this deck's up there. You're going to introduce yourself. That's your first slide. Unique solution, usability. Those are all still the same. I'm going to keep the team slide in there because I think it's helpful for the judges to know how you worked with each other. And then the last judging criteria is presentation and delivery, which you can't create a slide for, right? So, then it moves to slide. The next slide is the demo. So keep the team slide, but what he's saying there is how did you work together, and how were you able to help how was that team effort able to help come up with a better solution? This is not, I'm going to also ask you to somehow capture a picture, whether you get on a Zoom call and everybody come up in you know, the grid where you can set yourself up to look like a grid and take a picture or a snapshot of that screen. I'm going to need to use that both for the, I'm going to need you to give me a copy of that, but I think you should also share that on your team slide. Now, you can have 7 slides if you want, or your team slide could just have the picture of you guys on the team, and then you can talk about what's going on. Not everything should be wordy on your slide. It's just, these slides are the ones to remind you to talk about that topic and maybe have a little picture or a visualization around that area, as Stefan was trying to explain. Okay. And would you go to your next slide, Stefan? And the originality of design, I'm sorry, resilience and utility impact has been reworded slightly. That new wording has been released on the website. It's just, this was a little bit of jargony. It was a little bit of gobbledygook. And my non-jargony judge went, what the heck does that mean? So I was like, oh yeah, that does seem a little too wacko. So resilience is now, do the chosen technologies incorporate, and this is a little easier to understand, do the chosen technologies incorporate modern design and appear to be flexible and durable to provide a long-term solution for the state? And then utility impact is, do the functional components of the solution or application seem user-friendly or like it would have a positive impact on users? So those are the 2 that have been slightly reworded to be like, not quite so, what do you think they mean by that? Okay, so we were trying to make it very clear for the judges as to, and as we make it clear for the judges, we also need to make it clear for you as the teams that when you're talking up there, that you're not getting, talking around components that are hard to understand. So those have been clarified. I will be posting on the Slack channel. There is a presentation slide. It is, hang on, let me find the channel here. The channel is pitch_help. That's where I'm going to be posting the slides, the sample, the template. Essentially it's taking the words from that, the slide that's up on the screen right now, and kind of plucking them into each of the 5 slides, right? Because the 6th slide is a demo and the 1st slide is just your introduction. All right, I'm sorry for the last minute, but those wording just changed like 2 days ago, and I just posted it 2 days ago. So Steph, I'm sorry for not getting that to you. I just had space that it should be shared with you too. Forgive me, everybody. Okay, so I have some wrap up notes. Let me Steph, if you wouldn't mind letting me take back the screen. I got to bring my slide deck back up. Okay, let me go back a slide here. Okay, so I just want to summarize some things, and then we're going to open the doors for you to either, I'm going to turn off the recording just to protect the high school students who are here and give them a chance to answer questions or ask questions without feeling like they're like in the crosshairs. So let me just give a couple of important reminders. Remember the dates. November 11th is the, here, I'll go back to that slide just to make it easier. Hang on. November 11th is the day we'll start technical reviews. I've given the details of how you want to handle that. If you have any questions about that, ask me or George Lee. He's our technical review judge, manager. Team selection announcement will be on the 18th. I'm going to do it as early in the morning as I can so that I can get you all set up to go. I'm going to need pictures of your team. The important things are pictures of your team, You'll be scheduling a meeting on Friday to meet with us to make sure you're all set up and ready to go. And because you're going to be sharing your own screens that morning, so I want to just practice that with you. I need to know who on your team. I'm assuming, again, if you have an 11-person team, not all 11 people would get up on the stage. So it's okay. If one of the tricks that's kind of fun to do is to come up with a team backdrop. And those of you who have that capability to change your backdrop, you can share your team backdrop, and sometimes that helps make you look more cohesive when you're all talking. And then I will encourage you to remember to practice, practice, practice. I had one of the challenge sponsors, they talked to me about how after they met with Stefan and they had a little more time than you have, they practiced a lot, and their presentation, I won't name any names, their presentation was beautiful. It was seamless. Steph, they did an amazing job. They acknowledged like the stuff was great, you know. So there's a lot of really good important information in what Steph gave us today. So thank you, by the way, for that as well. Lots of really good information here that will make you a little more polished if you pay attention to it then, and that gets noticed. You get 5 points for your presentation these days, and how well you did. It's not about, you know, like making mistakes or stumbling. That's not what it's just the flow of your presentation. If it's good, they're going to be really appreciative of that. They're going to give you the highest score, which is a 5. Okay. So again, the reversal pitches, the rehearsals will be on Friday, and then judging day is on Saturday, the following day. The swag bags have been delivered. They are at the Honolulu Community College, UH, and HPU. The way you pick up your team captains only, or one designated person, I gave them the list of who's on your team. So you can only pick up your swag. You cannot pick up somebody else's swag. It can be the team captain or somebody on the team, but it has to be the person associated with that team. At UH, you go to the ITC reception desk. This is really awesome. I guess you all know where that is. It's on Korea Road. And their reception desk is open between 7:45 a.m. and 4:30 p.m. I don't know if they're open on Saturdays and Sundays, but that's at least weekdays. For Honolulu Community College, you'll be contacting Jarrett Yip. He's available only on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays between 8 a.m. and 4 p.m. And he will be available starting this Tuesday, November 11th. When you get to the Honolulu Community College, I recommend you go park in parking lot 1, which is off of, I don't remember the name of the road. Parking lot 1, you go all the way down and you turn right after you pass the community college. That's where that parking lot 1 is. When you get there, you call him. If you have told me you're picking it up there, I have already given you his cell phone number. So I'm not going to release that live here. Okay. Final pickup destination is Honolulu, Hawaii Pacific University, HPU. In this particular case, you're going to Slack Ed or Stuart and then coordinate a time to pick up your packet. So a little different for each location depending on, and I know you're all kind of wandering around, not necessarily going there live. So work with your professors to determine where your package is. If you did not specifically tell me I'm HPU or the HCCs all gave me specific information, but if you didn't give me a response to UH or HPU, I based it upon your email address of your captain. So if your email address of your captain was myhpu.edu or hawaii.edu, that's where your packet is. So those with the hawaii.edu went to UH, obviously, and myhpu.edu went to HPU. So if you have any issues or concerns about that, just reach out to me and or your professors, and we'll figure out where those things are. I just want to remind you, once you get that, we're having another contest. There's a COVID mask. It's obviously not an N94 mask, but it is just your kind of protect each other mask. They're very nice, by the way. They have the 50-year logo. Please take a creative picture. I'm not going to specify what I mean by that. Just take a creative picture of your mask, post it on the Slack swag channel. We will be reviewing all pictures, and there we will be announcing a gift card winner on the presentation day. So, and if you're not there, you'll still be a winner, don't worry. So if you don't end up being at the presentation day, we're just going to announce it there. But if you're not there on that day, I will also be reaching out to you on Slack, because your name will be on there. I'll be saying, and the winner is, and that'll be announced both on Slack and on presentation day, and you'll be winning a gift card. For right now, I know we're only doing one prize, but you know, if we got a lot of good, if we get a lot of really good response and a lot of good creative stuff, we might end up giving more. So participate, 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 please. Let's see, what else do we have? Otherwise, thank you for being here. Thank you for all the events that you participated in. And we're really excited to see your solutions on the 21st. This is the last planned event relative to training for this year. Next up is obviously getting your code finished and working, at least as best as you can, so that we can start analyzing your technology on the 11th. Remember, you need a 60% score or better to be invited, and then we will be inviting the top 25 teams, top 4 high school teams, top 2 teams from each of the challenges, so that's 12. We didn't have any open challenges, so we have an extra, and then so 2 and 4, that's 16. That leaves 9 teams with the best scores going down after that. So, and it's not by challenge at that point, it'll be just anybody who hasn't already been invited, the top remaining 9 scores. So, but you do need to have a minimum of 60%. So if we only have 10 people who have 60% or higher, that's all the teams that will be presenting. So do a good job on the tech, because it's a 50%. That one's another one's it's 50-50 this year. Your tech score is 50%, your presentation is 50%. We changed that because based upon feedback from you all last year. Make sure you get both pieces working really well, and good luck. That's all I have. We'll be around for questions. I'm going to stop the recording now and open the doors for questions, I mean.